One thing I've noticed is social media is really funny, man. And I've said this before, maybe via like captions and stuff or comments sometimes, but I don't know if I've done a specific video on this. But social media, I swear, I would not be on social media. I just did a video on outsourcing content. I would not be on social media if I did not have to, outside of interacting with supporters and people who watch my content. Outside of that, I would not be on social media because the thing is, it's designed to either keep you in a compare and contrast, comparing your life to somebody who has lived a completely different life, different experiences that led them to that point. It's either that or again just putting you in a toxic mindset of following certain advice that you may not necessarily need to follow. It may not make sense for you in your position. And it's crazy, man. Like I would not be on social media if I did not have to. It's We're in an age now where in order to grow, you have to, in some way, shape, or form, be in most cases, you have to, in some way, shape, or form, be present on, the internet in order to grow. In order for people to know you, everybody's on their phone, and that's how it moves. But I saw something, and it's a creator, and I've seen plenty of creators do this, man. And people in the comments sometimes they're just either out of touch or they close minded, or they just, again, it's just how their way of thinking. But a streamer, rapper, vlogger. He's done plenty of stuff. I've watched him for a couple of years. His name is DDG, but he has been he has done a bunch of content, and you see some other people who do this too. But he did a video, and bro just seemed to be like relaxing and chilling, and he just did some childish stuff. Basically, it was a video, and he was saying when the hus's not around, and basically he just started acting a fool, and somebody. It's funny to look at. It's like bro just being goofy, basically. They're just acting, just being goofy. And this girl in the comments, someone in the comments was like, "Grown man, by the way, not acting his age." And I'm like, bro, this man has made you. And again, you always got people who gonna say stuff in the comments because again, it's free speech, right? You can say what you want to, and that's your way of thinking. That's cool. But at the same time, you got this man that's made tens of millions of dollars, more money most likely than you will ever see in your life, and you saying grown man, actor age, and all this BS. I have never, I could never advocate for that type of way of thinking, only because a lot of people will get into a position where it's almost like they fall into societal norms and whatever I guess people think that you should be acting, and it's almost like they kill that inner child or that person within them, that inner child that is many times called the inner child, where you almost become a robot. Your day to day becomes normal. You don't have any creativity anymore, and everything just seems black and white. And some people are okay with that. And if that's cool with you, that's cool with you. That's your way of moving. But you have some people, or you have a lot of people, a majority of people, in my opinion, that end up killing that inner child. And it's almost like they're living to please other people, and they're living to almost be this person that they don't necessarily want to be, but they feel like they have to be. And you kill the inner child. Creativity is gone. A lot of times you see people they get older, maybe in their 30s or in their 40s, and they're like a shell of who they used to be. And then they start wondering, damn, what happened? Because as you get older, you hear the constant of time moves faster, and things start to get into a flow where you just, 1 year turns 1 year, 5 years felt like 1 year, and time just starts moving faster. And now you're at a position where you almost forget what things used to be and how more open you used to be to doing certain stuff. And you almost forget who the hell you are. And if you don't catch it, it becomes a lot harder as years go by, where you're like, dang, I don't even recognize myself. And then before you know it, you're at a position where you're regretting stuff, and you're saying, man, I wish I did X, Y, and Z when I had a chance, or man, I wish I did this. And you're in the position right now to do that. But you have that resistance, and instead of saying, no, screw this resistance, screw whatever it is that, I might be feeling from externally to do what I want to do, as far as, chasing the goal, chasing the dream, whatever it is, you decide to just stay comfortable and stay where you are. And it's silly to me, bro. I would never, ever allow myself to do that. I constantly I've trained my mind to get to a position where I'm almost always self-aware. Am I falling off of the objective, the goals that I want out of this life? I spent a good amount of time, if not years, figuring out what it is that I actually want in life. And a lot of times people are constantly looking for the next thing and they don't sit down and realize, what do I actually want, bro? What do I actually want? Do I want a career in, the medical field or technology? Do I want to be an entertainer? Do I want to be an athlete? If I can't be an athlete no more, like in the pros, do I want to be an influencer athlete type stuff where I can still make the same amount of money, if not more? But now I'm an influencer athlete, still doing what I want to do. But now it's more like social media or, doing courses and all that kind of stuff. And courses is a whole nother story because you can go down you can do it right, you can do it wrong, or be in the middle. So that's a whole nother story. But what do you want to do with your life, right? There's thousands and thousands of videos on YouTube that are saying the same stuff. People saying the same thing. And you can watch a video like this and say, yeah, you know what, you're right, man. What do I want to do in my life? And in that moment, you're saying, what do I want to do in my life? And then tomorrow, the same shit just comes back into you just go back into the norms, and then you just forget everything that you just saw. You have 20 videos saved onto your watch later of, what do I want to do in my life, bro? What do I want to do in my life? And then it's just, then you just go back to the same shit you were doing before. It's just hilarious, man. It's hilarious. So I would always be an advocate of figuring out what you want to do with your life and going after it. It doesn't mean you got to say screw everybody around you. Because again, some people, they try to go to, it's either one extreme or the next extreme. It's finding a balance between them, man. That's all it is. That's all it is. And this comes back to the video that I was saying, and somebody saying, act your age. What is act your age? What does that mean? Somebody's perspective of acting their age and another person's perspective of acting their age based off their experiences could be two different things. So you saying act your age, don't be goofy, basically be some stiff, stuck-up thug or what, or not even so being a stiff, stuck-up person, or being a thug, or being somebody who's only saying certain things. What the hell are you talking about? Act your age, bro. It's such to me, it's such a silly and a dumbass comment, bro. To me, it's just a silly and dumbass comment. I'm not saying the person's stupid. That if that's your way of thinking, cool. But to me, that's just a silly ass comment to me, bro. Everybody has their way and preferences, way of thinking, and I guess ideas of how you should live your life. But my thing is this, man. If somebody's living a life that maybe you personally wouldn't live, and I'm not talking about the super extreme stuff like killing people and, super extreme stuff, hurting people and doing stuff that's causing harm, not necessarily the extreme stuff. We're not talking about that. We're talking about stuff within reason. Like, let's say you have one person that likes to take a lot more calculated risk, entrepreneur, all that kind of stuff. And, they go out and buy they go out and buy a car that they can barely keep up with the purchases, but they're doing some sort of, I'm just thinking stuff off the head. But they're doing their business is helping them pay for the car, and they're doing the right marketing to keep things moving, and they're still growing. At the same time, it's risky, but that's how they want to move about their life, right? And you have another person who, let's say, they just finish school and they get a full-time job, get their bills paid, and they raise a family, they get a house. Standard way of living. I would say that's a standard way of living. Some people say, oh, 9 to 5, and that's trash. I would say that's a standard way of living, right? There's nothing wrong with that. You have two people, but you have people on both sides that'll say, oh, if you work a 9 to 5, you're trash, bro. You're a slave, you're NPC, all that BS, bro. Some people actually want to live a standard living of life, and that's cool, bro. But then, again, you have closed-minded people on one side, you have closed-minded people on the other side. You have some people that say, oh, this person goes out and buys a car like this. Why are you buying a car like that? You should put that investment in a house. You should have 10 million in investment before you even think about buying an exotic car. And why are you taking calculated risk? Why are you doing that? That doesn't make sense. Yada, yada, yada. Again, closed-minded thinking, bro. Closed-minded thinking. That's really the topic of this. That's really what it is. Closed-minded thinking. You're telling somebody to conform to your way of thinking, when instead of you opening your mind to saying, hey, maybe this person is doing X, Y, and Z because of their experiences here, or maybe because this is just a different way they can do it. Success is viewed differently by different people. Social media will push an idea of success. Generally speaking, you drive the supercar, drive the hypercar, you got a nice, big, huge house, and a lot of girls, or if you're a girl, a lot of guys wanting you, and buying all the Chanel bags, and you can do whatever you want to. You got the G-Wagon and all. People with social media will push an idea of success when everyone's idea or a lot of people's ideas of success is different. But social media will push an idea of what success should look like, push an idea of how you should act in some cases. And it's just silly, bro. It's just silly to me. So yeah, that's really what it is, man. I thought that comment was pretty silly. I may or may not show the comment in there because, like I said, this is just a channel for me just talking my thoughts, taking a video and then posting it, not really doing any edits. So I don't know, bro. But like I said, I just thought that comment was silly, and I could never conform to what people think you should be acting like in order to be successful. At the end of the day, you got people who are more quote unquote immature than DDG, and they're making even more money. Some people could say actual speed is super immature. But at the end of the day, he's just putting out a character. Bro's making tens of millions of dollars a year. Then you could say, oh yeah, he's younger, bro. DDG is in his 30s. Why is he, or late 20s? I don't know. DDG is in a certain age. Why is he, bro? Let him act the way he wants to. Who cares? Who cares? Bro is free. It seems like bro is free. He can do what he wants to. But it seems like to me, bro didn't kill his inner child like a lot of people did to conform to against society and what some communities or some people might think you should be acting. Because I won't say this is everything. There's so many different, sub communities and everything, but a lot of times that's the general standard way of living. You act a certain way. If you act too childish, you're weird in the bad way. And some people just are saying like, why are you acting that way? Bro, I'm being myself. Silly stuff, bro. Like I said, it's silly. To me, it's silly. So yeah, that's really what it is, man. Be yourself. Never be afraid to express yourself unless you have a specific objective that requires you to be a little bit more reserved in that moment. Then again, yeah, you have a goal, you have a plan, you have an idea of what you need to do, but you're not reserving yourself intentionally all the time. It's in that moment where you're still being yourself, but more on a reserved state. But if you're out with friends and stuff, or you're, in a position where you no longer need to, you're no longer at a risk of losing some sort of leverage, and you're no longer having to, do certain things to please certain people, bro, be yourself. That's the problem, man. That's the problem. There's a community for everything. We live in an age now where there's a community for everything. So that's how I looked at it, man. And I really resonated with some people who were disagreeing with her, more so because, again, people respect you a little bit more. Generally speaking, people will respect you if you're not afraid to be yourself, even if they don't agree with it. There's still a level of respect. And that's kind of how I like to look at it. So I've trained myself to approach life in that way. And like I said, I'm always trying to be always wanting to be self-aware of if I'm falling back into because again, mine will play tricks on yours. Easy to fall back into that, where you're restricting yourself in a way, unless you have to, or unless it's necessary. It makes sense to do that in that specific moment. But yeah, man, don't conform to people and what they think you need to do. Be yourself, and that's all that matters, bro.